Governments are meeting in Copenhagen in Denmark to try and come to a decisive and a fair and equitable deal on climate change. And one issue that's likely to attract a great deal of attention is the issue of forests, something we call green carbon. Forests are, as a result of deforestation, contributing perhaps as much as 20% to the global greenhouse gas emissions, and yet forests are also absorbing about 15% of that pollution from traffic and factories and other sources. But what is intriguing is that we're now starting to learn that there are other ecosystems out there that are also doing a great job in terms of naturally combating climate change. And blue carbon, which is basically the salt marshes, the seagrasses and the mangroves of the marine environment, are now emerging as a great ally in this challenge. According to recent research by the United Nations Environment Programme, in collaboration with experts from around the world, these ecosystems, these marine ecosystems, this blue carbon could be absorbing as much as half of the world's transport emissions. That's the good news. The bad news is that we have lost between 25 and 30% of these marine ecosystems in the last perhaps 60, 70 years. So what to do? With forests, there's a good chance in Copenhagen that governments may start paying tropically forested countries not to cut their trees down, to actually conserve them, for the carbon, but also for the other services that forests provide, like water and soil stabilization and biodiversity. Perhaps there's a possibility now of thinking about a blue carbon fund, where basically the countries of the north assist the countries of the south with investment to conserve the blue carbon marine ecosystems that they already have, and perhaps invest in the rehabilitation of mangroves, of salt marshes and of seagrasses, so they can do even more in terms of absorbing the CO2 emissions which are linked with climate change.
In May 2009 in Indonesia, countries signed the Manado Declaration, which highlights the role of oceans in climate change. The countries weren't calling for a new convention or a new framework, but a commitment to better manage oceans and coasts so that they can play the role that they have in mitigating and adapting to climate change. The Blue Carbon Report produced by UNEP, FAO, and the International Oceanographic Commission highlights the role that key marine and coastal environments play in mitigating and capturing carbon. The declaration also calls for countries to invest in better management of their oceans and coasts. One way of funding this management is to maybe establish a blue carbon fund based on carbon credits for better management of fisheries and better management of coastal areas.